XRP is pumping past all-time highs, but will it hit $10 like a lot of people are targeting even within this year? There are a lot of good news coming up. For example, the SEC lawsuit has finally settled. There is an imminent XRP ETF being approved. This is a spot ETF. Ripple has applied for a new banking license in the US, and they have a potential IPO coming up. There is positive regulation for stablecoins. The Genius Act just got passed through the House, which is going to benefit Ripple's RLUSD. A ton of things are happening. Now, I haven't been the most bullish voice on XRP in the past, but now it really does look like XRP's next leg is starting. So today, let me break down all you need to know about XRP from an actual skeptic's perspective. I'll also share my updated XRP price prediction by the end of this year. Okay, let's get straight into it. And I am only just going to show you a little bit of a plug for our own stuff. So I almost missed this new XRP pump. I did, however, open a XRP copy trading bot, grid bot, using Poundx. This was 6 days ago, and I posted this on my X. Like I said, I can't really always go live every time I make a change to this. But this has been doing pretty well. So as the trend really started to reverse, I realized we weren't going to get the $1.80 target that I wanted to do. $1.90 was basically the bottom. So I managed to get an entry in on the bot at $2.70. And so far, this is up 48%, obviously thanks to the big pump. And the grid APR is always taking advantage of the volatility in the market because, like this setting right here, this bot will continue to buy until $1.45, which is the bottom line lowest price that I expect XRP to be able to hit while still remaining bullish. Anything below that, something is seriously wrong. And then I have a $6 for upside take profit target. So this bot will automatically buy low and sell high for the rest of this bull run. And hopefully this is a very good range that we can actually get most of the profits. It's not too high, it's not too low. You can find all of that in the link in the description with how to copy my bot for XRP and everything else, as well as a full tutorial of how to use these. Now, back to the current situation on XRP. So XRP is now trading at $3.44, almost $3, just over $3.50 this morning. And some very interesting stats I have seen, not only on price, but on social metrics. I'll start off with this. On Google Trends, for both Google web search and YouTube search, XRP actually has more search today than Bitcoin, which is insane to think about. This is YouTube search, and we just had a team call for our YouTube team yesterday where we realized, holy shit, there are more people looking at XRP as a keyword versus Bitcoin. And compared to Ethereum, I mean, it's like nearly 10x as much right now in terms of interest. This is for YouTube. It also applies for just general Google search. Over the past week, this is the past 7 days, you see the blue one here is XRP. And about 2 days ago, 1 day ago, XRP started to overtake Bitcoin by interest. And already since the beginning of the week, XRP had more search interest across all of Google worldwide than Ethereum and crypto, those two terms. So this is direct Google data. I'm not trying to, pin anything that's a speculation. Clearly, a lot of people are searching for XRP, whether you like it or not on crypto Twitter, you like to hold XRP or not. So then why is this all happening? Right. I think the first place we should look at are two things. Number one, the Q1 2025 XRP report. Highly recommend everyone to go read this. This is basically Ripple themselves, highlighting the biggest accomplishments for XRP this quarter. And the four main summaries here on their X account. Number one, SEC and Ripple reached an agreement to end the lawsuit. This is back in March. The result here is there is no more appeal anymore. It's just a payment, and Ripple will pay $50 million to the SEC as a settlement. $50 million is literally nothing to them because they have done a acquisition as big as $1.25 billion earlier this year. So this is actually a big win for Ripple and for XRP, of course. And then, like I said right here, Ripple has acquired a giant TradFi brokerage firm called Hidden Road for $1.25 billion this year. This is specifically to scale the XRP ledger and Ripple USD adoption. And then you have obviously institutional demand continues to rise as regulations is getting a lot easier. And US policy shifts. Now, this is back in May, and we just got the confirmation yesterday that 3 bills have passed the US House. These are the Genius Act, which helps USD-based stablecoins. We have the Clarity Act, which is for separating the CFTC and the SEC of which agency is able to govern crypto markets, and the coins and tokens that are not labeled securities, they clearly go under the CFTC, which means they are seen as commodities. And XRP is one of the main ones in that bucket that has all the check marks now, because they have beat the SEC in this lawsuit and didn't exactly win, but they settled. So the SEC now clearly identifies them as not a security. And they have the ETF approvals coming up, et cetera, et cetera. So XRP definitely benefits from the Clarity Act. And the third act, not as much. And I'll start off with this. So this institutions are clearly looking at XRP. Among all of the main institutional players in the US, the CME Group has been one of the longest running markets, TradFi exchanges that actually adopted crypto very early on. My light here is weird. What is this? Whatever. So the CME Group has, since 2021, always traded Bitcoin Ether futures. Now this year, they have listed two more futures for Solana and XRP. You can find them right here on the CME Group's website. This is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, one of the longest running, most reputable TradFi exchanges. So now that these two are included in this list, here is what the institution, heavily regulated in the US, actually says is factually true about XRP, how they see it, how they use it, what are the behaviors of XRP as an asset across crypto and across the broader asset economy against other things like stock market, etc. So I highly recommend you guys to go read this. This was published 2 months ago. The reason why is because XRP and the XRP army just has too much rumor and fake news coming up all the time, such as like XRP being the reserve currency of the world, or XRP reaching, like $100+, or XRP is going to be replacing Bitcoin, a lot of like random stuff that gets thrown around. But this coming from the CME Group is all factual, right? This is heavily regulated on what they can say here. It has to be factually correct based on data. And this is written by the managing director and the chief economist of CME Group. So a few things to note here. This is diving into the supply. So we'll talk about this in a bit, of the XRP's supply control that is under Ripple. But in short, it's all okay. They haven't released extra amount of coins that weren't initially as planned, but we'll go over the escrows in the risks section by the end of this live stream. So there's some comparisons between XRP, Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum. I think the most notable things are here. Number one, XRP has similar volatility with other cryptocurrencies, right? They do recognize this. It's not like XRP is like some reserve currency that's better than other speculative currencies. You see the volatility here. XRP, Ethereum, Solana, similar volatility, way more volatile than Bitcoin. But here is actually very interesting. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana have very strong correlation with each other. You see on this chart right here. BTC ETH correlation, BTC SOL correlation, ETH SOL correlation, all pretty similar. However, XRP correlation with the other three has been diverging. And we are starting to feel this, right? Exactly why that's the reason, we can all guess. Maybe it's because XRP is a retail driven asset. Maybe because XRP had this huge battle against the SEC over the past 4 or 5 years, and they have finally come out on top since Trump came into office. So that's why its performance is really starting to outshine the rest, which have been okay without BTC ETH SOL hasn't been beaten down as much. But nonetheless, the fact is currently, if you hold BTC ETH SOL, they're all kind of running together similarly. Okay, Bitcoin runs up, you see Ethereum run up, you see SOL run up. And when they dump, they all dump. XRP has been at times really uncorrelated against Bitcoin, against ETH, against SOL, and against the rest of the crypto market. And the main correlated assets to XRP are actually the similar ISO 20022 payment coins like Hedera, Stellar, Cardano to some extent, XDC, Algorand, those few coins. So this is actually very interesting to see. And we'll talk about this more on the chart in a bit with XRP versus Bitcoin ratio. And down here is also very interesting. XRP shows a weaker correlation to financial stocks, specifically to the S&P here. So while BTC ETH SOL, you see all very similar correlation to the S&P going up and down together. Since Trump's inauguration, XRP has been uncorrelated with the S&P. This is something that not a lot of people are talking about. And I think this is very interesting and presents a less important for us, but more important for institutional investors who are already allocated to Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana to then look at XRP and say, hold on a second, like the data is telling us we could get outsized return here by diversifying actually, because all other cryptos are very heavily correlated, whereas XRP is kind of different. So that's just something to know. Not necessarily it's better, but it's just better. It's just more helpful for a portfolio manager to have, like for example, BTC XRP. Those two are not as correlated as BTC ETH, right? So for a portfolio manager who has like infinite amount of money, if you want to deploy into crypto, you already have a bunch of money in Bitcoin. Should you put more into Ethereum or should you put more into XRP? For the sake of diversification, XRP is a better bet. This is what this says. And then some other stuff with correlation with gold. So here are the bottom line that highlights basically all the things that are worth talking about today. So XRP saw this huge rise in November as regulatory uncertainty abated, basically when Trump came into office. XRP's blockchain is actually very fast, specifically for cross-border payments is as fast as SOL, even though it's not as powerful for smart contracts. You can't build as many things on there. This is not talking about, EVM XRPL specifically. Okay. XRP is focused on cross-border payments. We all already know this. It's less correlated to BTC, ETH, and SOL than they are to one another. Less correlation to tech stocks, USD, and gold than other cryptos. Very interesting. There are some supply mentions that they have covered here. Even though XRP has been pre-mined, technically speaking, there is a hard cap, unlike Bitcoin, ETH, and SOL. The main thing here is that how much of it is held in escrow, and we have to constantly follow how much Ripple is unlocking from the escrows and relocking these according to their predefined schedule. As long as that's being followed, that's totally okay, because everyone knows these things that they have laid out since 2017 already. So this is based on the current escrow release of XRP coins. All the supply will only come out to the market over the next 10 to 13 years. So we still have a long time. So we'll talk about the escrow stuff in a bit. Now, after you have read this, let's go into directly the most important thing, which is price prediction. Okay, so I have covered XRP from, way back. Is this too? No, it's okay. So I've covered XRP even as far as Q4 2023. That was the first deep dive that I had on XRP right here. So obviously this is clickbait. I never said XRP was going to reach $100, but just because people were saying it all the time. So this is the actual video we made back then. Come on. Okay. So we went into, the technology of it, ISO 20022 adoption. Back then, it was the main contender for CBDCs. And we looked at the escrow plan for XRP coming out of Ripple. This is actually in August 2023, so about 2 years ago. And we gave a price prediction by August 2025, which is basically next month. So given that escrow trajectory, I gave a price prediction of, come on. Oh my God. YouTube. The cliffhanger here. Given the price, the escrow and comparison of XRP as a technology to other similar payment networks like Visa, MasterCard, etc., and compared to the previous market cap top, I gave a $4.50 per XRP lower end target by the end of 2025. Remember, this is like over 2 years ago. This is actually like kind of lucky guess, to be honest. I think we're probably going to see this by the end of this year. So in some case, like I was probably like spot on the 2 years ago, even though I turned kind of bearish at the beginning of this year as it was getting way too overheated in the short term. But I also gave a higher end target of $9 per XRP, which will lead to a 500 billion market cap. It's slightly higher than that now, based on the current circulating supply. So we'll revisit these targets, but actually they're still quite similar. So that was my target back in August 2023 for August 2025. Okay, so fast forward to beginning of this year. This is 7 months ago, December 2024, and this is a crazy moment, right? So XRP, right after Trump came into Trump's won the election, XRP had a huge rally from, I want to say 30 cents to $3. It went down to run a little bit higher than 250. Now, I was pretty bearish at that time. And I think still it's the right call, because when something runs like 8x in like 2 weeks, I don't know what to say. Like, obviously we have to cover it because everyone's super interested, but I think the action to do then was to sell. Now, I stand by that. I think that was a good time to sell because when you look at the past, where's my price chart? You look at the past 7 months of performance. XRP peaked at, what is this here? $3.36, and it went down to, not that one, past 1 year here. $3.27, and it went down to test 180 one time, and then about 190, just under $2 right here. We have a precise chart here, right? $3.29, $1.76, $1.96. So if you sold up here, or even like if it was better up here, you had chances to buy a bit lower, like 20% lower-ish. That would have been a good entry. So that was basically what I was saying. I believe I also gave long-term targets over here, if I'm not mistaken. We referenced our initial target as well of at least like $5 by the end of the cycle. Yeah, you can go ahead and rewatch that video. But TLDR, selling there was the right call. However, last month, right, May 19th, just 2 months ago, I really wanted XRP to come down against Bitcoin ratio. If I can find that chart here. Yeah, right here. So this was when XRP was trading at 0.50 and 22 against Bitcoin. And I saw potentially for it to come down to 1.7 in XRP Bitcoin ratio. That's this chart right here. So this was when we made the call, and I wanted XRP to come down to these ranges to load up. It didn't come that deep, and I almost missed this entry. So I had to honestly like get back in somewhere here because this thing was turning around way too quickly. So I had to open up my trading bots right away and quite a bit higher at $2.70. So it is what it is, right? We only got about like $1.95, not $1.80. But nonetheless, the strength is really good to see. Okay, so not making any excuses here. We didn't make this call correctly. But doesn't really matter what we have done in the past. What matters now is what happens next, okay? Because we can't go back into the past and try to buy at $1.90. So can XRP go up or down from this point? In my opinion, as long as the altcoin cycle keeps going, as long as Bitcoin keeps going higher, there's no reason for XRP to stop right here. So that's why I don't want to have that, correction bias on XRP anymore. And instead, I really want to think about the upside potential that XRP can have by the end of this year. And there are a few different metrics that you can try to gauge for how high XRP can target by the end of this year. So I think a low-end target is somewhere between that $4.50, $5 range. This is the same target that I had from 2023 based on long-term valuation metrics. But also, when you look at XRP BTC ratio, in order for XRP price to get to $4.50 to $5 all it needs to do is to go up to this, the Q1 highs right around here, 0.000033 against Bitcoin ratio, and for Bitcoin to have that major leg up that I was expecting, where it can reach somewhere like 140K by the end of this year. For my Bitcoin target by the end of the year, you should go ahead and watch these two videos. I have covered how Bitcoin, when it makes a breakout run, it usually runs quite fast and by quite a big multiple in this cycle. So that's why we're targeting about 140K. So all that looks like is this, 0.000033 times 140K, rough numbers, right? That gives us $4.62 for XRP by the end of this year. I think that's a conservative target. As long as Bitcoin continues to run, as long as Bitcoin dominance continues to fall off like this, we should continue to see XRP BTC ratio start to trend higher towards the next resistance at 0.000033. And that will give us between $4.5 to $5 per XRP. I think this is a pretty realistic target by the end of this year. Now, stretch target, okay? That $10 mark that you see in the title and thumbnail of this video. Will that be unrealistic? So for the end of this year, I don't know. But by the end of the cycle, I think it's totally possible. What would that look like? With these same valuation metrics, right? Let's just say Bitcoin peaks out only, 140, 150K, right? Very conservative. And then let's take $10 of a target divided by 150K per Bitcoin. That gives us this ratio, right? 4 zeros and 666. On the XRP BTC ratio chart, what does that look like? Where does that put us historically? So 6666 is right around there. Okay. So these would be closer to mid bull run levels in 2017 and in the 2018 Q1 like mania, when XRP all of a sudden did like, I think it did like 100x in one quarter, right? Don't quote me on that, but it was when like back here when XRP went from 22 cents to, okay, it wasn't 100x, but it was 15x. Okay, within a matter of 4 weeks. So if we get XRP BTC ratio to these levels again, that would be very close to euphoria stage, at least to the mania stage of the cycle. So thinking of it like that, is that unreasonable this year? I would say it's fair. I would say if it hits $10 and XRP BTC ratio is kind of as high as the average value we had in the 2017 to 2018 cycle, I'd be very happy to take full profit from XRP and just let the rest go. Let whatever else above $10, let that profit go. That's where I would be very happy. Okay. Anything beyond that, like people are saying, obviously not $100. Like we're not going to see $100. That's not happening. Okay. Even like $20, let's say. When you look at XRP BTC ratio, sure, that's looking at Pico top levels in summer 2017 and in Q1 2018, when the crypto market was just completely nascent compared to right now, and things are just allowed to go completely whack, right? And even then, we didn't have as high of a XRP BTC ratio as that. So, if your target is like $20, I would say like I wouldn't count on it, but 10, pretty reasonable, and also a very good target to just take full profit. That's what I would target. Okay. Just to give you some more perspectives on XRP's valuation at that point compared to others. So the current supply of XRP is 59.18 billion. At $10, that gives XRP a valuation of $592 billion. That's about the same as Visa, MasterCard, about like top 10 largest companies in the world. And that potentially could be number 2 crypto. So if XRP goes to $10 this year, it might be able to flip Ethereum. So think about that as a metric, okay? Let's say like 4 or 5 months from now, XRP keeps getting this like huge retail wave, and it goes to $10. And when you look on CoinMarketCap top cryptocurrency rankings, you see right now Ethereum is under 400 billion market cap. Let's say Ethereum only goes up, I don't know, 10, even 20%, right? That would put Ethereum circulating market cap below 590 billion, right? And then XRP, let's say it goes 3x from here, it goes to $10, that will flip Ethereum. That would be a huge event that gets everyone super excited. So in my mind, that's probably when things get kind of crazy and people have the least tendency to sell them, because people will say, oh, look, XRP has now become the second largest cryptocurrency. Now people are going to say crazy shit like, oh, it's the reserve currency. It's going to flip Bitcoin. We already flipped Ethereum. Go, 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 right? That's probably the time I would sell, to be honest. Same kind of scenario has happened before. If you have been around in crypto for as long as I have, 8 years, back here in beginning of 2018, XRP did flip Ethereum very short for a few weeks, and this was the peak top. So if this kind of a scenario happens again, especially if it flips ETH, I think I'll be very happy to just like call it a cycle top for XRP, and whatever comes next is totally okay by me to miss out. And yeah, last metric I want to give you before we go into some of the catalysts. Here is the XRP market dominance by market cap. This is easily trackable on TradingView by typing xrp.d. So this is how much of the total crypto market cap is taken up by XRP. Currently, that's at 5.37%. So if XRP goes to $10, that will put it at 590 billion market cap. And with our same calculation based on the BTC ratio of 150,000 per Bitcoin, I'm going to do some like quick napkin math. 150,000 per Bitcoin. Current circulating supply of Bitcoin is around 19.9 million. Like that. Divided by, let's say, 60% total Bitcoin dominance by the end of the year. That gives us just around 5 trillion in total crypto market cap. Okay, so then you have a scenario of $590 billion divided by 5 trillion. So we're looking at potentially 11.8% of XRP dominance. So on the dominance chart, it will also look very similar to 2018 near the cycle peak stage, about halfway to euphoria already, right here. Okay, so this is like within the 3 weeks of January 2018, this is the only time that XRP has traded at higher than 11.8% market dominance. Just something to think about. And even in by the end of 2018, whatever this was, it kind of peaked there. All right, something to think about in terms of market dominance. So I think that's reasonable. Again, I'm not saying that's too high. I wouldn't be too surprised to see that. But here's the thing. If you're targeting $20, then you take this as a double. So instead of 11.8%, we would be targeting like 23.6% market dominance, which would be literally all-time high for XRP market dominance, for XRP relevancy. What does that look like? Think about it from a investor's perspective, from today's crypto market perspective. Okay, so in 2017, I don't know how many people are around from then, but there are not that many altcoins. There's Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Dogecoin was barely a thing. That was it. There's no Solana. There's no like smart contract platforms. There's nothing. It was all Ethereum ICOs. And even at that point, 23% market dominance, market share of what people are interested in XRP was the peak top. So imagine today, how many different things that XRP has to compete with, right? Like BNB wasn't around in 2017, mid 2017, wasn't a thing. Binance was not a thing yet. What else is really relevant? Tron wasn't a thing. Solana wasn't a thing. Solana wasn't even like born as an idea yet, right? You have all the other layer ones aren't a thing. AI altcoins are not a thing. Gaming altcoins, RWA, even stablecoins you have to take into account, right? All of this is taking into account stablecoin market cap as well. So you have so many different narratives to compete with now for XRP, and I just don't see how 23% of the capital and interest can be in XRP alone this cycle. That's pretty insane. So that's another, warning I want to give you guys. Like if you're targeting $20 and you're XRP fanatic, like sure, in a peak euphoria, it could wick to that stage, but it shouldn't be long-term sustainable at all. Because frankly, there's just so many things happening in crypto now, right? There are just as many, fanatics for Cardano, for example, right? Fanatics for Solana today. So many people are huge Solana fans. So yeah, I don't see like anything above $10 as value, as reasonable. And yeah, so okay, I'll end it there. I won't blabber on anymore about price. So basically, low end target $4.50 to $5 ish by the end of this year. I think I'll be very happy with that. I think that's pretty realistic. If it reaches 10, I would totally be okay to just sell everything, all the XRP, and call it a day. And if it drops back down again, we can re-enter. And maybe that's when Bitcoin goes up a lot higher and the crypto market cap is a lot bigger. Then XRP can grow another 2x, right? If the rest of the crypto market grows 2x. So maybe that's how $20 happen, but I don't see it in this immediate short term. Okay, so with that out of the way, with the super interesting, price prediction stuff that everyone loves to talk about. So let me bring you up to speed with some of the most important catalysts that are worth looking at. We'll just go through these really quick. So first of all, some people are targeting a ratio between XRP's coin price to Ripple's stock price should Ripple go IPO. And because Ripple is currently trading at around 20 billion OTC for pre-IPO shares, people are saying, oh, this can go like 10x post-IPO if Ripple stock price matches that of Circle or Coinbase. While that's true, you can't really just say, oh, like that ratio has to be kept. There is a counter argument that once Ripple goes IPO, maybe a lot of people just buy the IPO stock, right, to invest in the company instead of having XRP as a token, right? So there's a lot of things to think about there. Sure, the Ripple IPO, if and when it happens, will be a big liquidity event, interest event for XRP as well. But does that mean XRP price will just magically get priced 10x higher if Ripple stock goes 10x higher? I don't know if that can be, I don't think that's reasonable, right? Because that's kind of totally arbitrary. It doesn't have to hold true, right? Something worth considering is if you're very bullish on the RippleNet, XRPL, cross-border payment technology, you could look to buy up some Ripple pre-IPO shares. They're trading at around $100 right now, OTC. You do have to be pretty sophisticated to access these. At around $100 is about 33% higher than this, which would be like just on over 20 billion valuation, 21, 22 billion-ish. So you can see even a price chart over the last 24 months for Ripple stock. Just something to think about, right? Maybe this is more value, right? Maybe the institutional investors might buy this instead of buying XRP because Ripple, the stock, is 20 billion, whereas XRP itself is how many billions now? Like 100 something billion, right? 150 billion. Okay, that's the Ripple IPO. And then the SEC lawsuit we talked about. Next, so the stablecoin and the banking sector is looking very good for Ripple. So Ripple has indeed applied for a national banking license in the US. This is just 2 weeks ago. This will put them in the same, what do you call it? Same level of financial institution as Circle, for example, and as any other most regulated stablecoin issuers in the US. So Circle has applied for the similar level of bank license, and they also haven't gotten approved yet. So if this happens, not only will it be a big marketing event, but also it will pave the way for Ripple's stablecoin, RLUSD, to be much more institution friendly and much more acceptable. And you can dive into the Genius Act again. This is when once passed, the US dollar-based stablecoins will be a lot more regulated and allowing Treasury to to easily flow into these assets. And for example, like Ripple and their bank can have actually will be required to hold either dollars or dollar-backed treasuries to back their stablecoins. So this is why it's a symbiotic relationship with the regulators, because they have a big need for treasury buyers. So you really have to look at these two news together. The fact that Ripple is applying for the banking license is because they need this in order to support their stablecoin, because the regulators require them to do so. And the other side of regulation, not that one, this one, is the ETFs. So there are over 11 ETFs that have been filed for XRP, and these are actual spot-based ETFs. So we did talk about the CME Futures ETF that is already live trading. And just a couple of days ago, the not only on the CME, but the NYSE has also approved the listing of another futures-based XRP ETF. So the NYSE and the CME are two of the most regulated stock exchanges in the US, even more so than the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ is a lot more for kind of like a shitcoin exchange to some extent compared to NYSE. So NYSE is really close to the Pico top, right? And the fact that a futures XRP ETF is allowed to trade on there, good news. Good move for moving to a spot-based ETF. Grayscale also included XRP in their basket ETF. And spot ETF is 95% chance to be approved. This is not me guessing. This is based on Bloomberg analysts' estimates. Right, so all of these ETFs have a deadline somewhere in October. These are all spot ETFs. So the Bloomberg analysts give it 95% chance that the Litecoin, Solana, and XRP ETFs will be approved by end of October. So this is all good news, right? Since it's 95% chance, we don't have to think about it anymore. It's basically already priced in. We will get this year. It will be a good news. Some worrisome things that I have seen going around as things I want to bring you guys' attention to. So as you guys know, for the longest time, Ripple, RippleNet, XRP Ledger, XRP the token as an asset has been targeting cross-border payments, interbank transfers. And there has been a lot of rumors that says XRP is going to be used as the next settlement layer for Swift. While for the longest time, they were competitors, right? Ripple and Swift as technology. I dug into this and I couldn't find any source on this. I'm pretty sure this is just pure rumor. So even this, I don't know why they're allowed to say this, but some crypto news sites says breaking, Swift has a partnership with Ripple. Where Swift drives a $30 trillion cross-border payment. When you do a wire transfer, for example, today, most parts across the world, they use Swift. This isn't the case, right? Look at the quote. Look at the source on this. Vincent Van Code. Who is this? I dug into this. Vincent Van Code is nobody. It's literally a Twitter account who just says they may choose to adopt this. With no source, okay? And everyone starts quoting him. And again, I want to show you this one. Not that one. This one quotes this guy, this Yetify. And this Yetify guy also quotes this Vincent Van Gogh guy. This is pure rumor. So this is really not confirmed anywhere, okay? something that is true is they have been testing specifically all the interoperability support with these distributed ledger technologies that support ISO 20022. So the Swift company, the technology director of their company, has said that Swift is really looking to adopt ISO 20022, which is the interbank communication messaging protocol that a lot of crypto blockchains and distributed ledgers like DAGs support. These include not only XRP, but also Stellar, XDC, Hedera, Cardano, IOTA, Algorand. Those are the main ones. So even in these tests, right? There's this company called EaseNet, for example. They are one of the SaaS providers that uses the Swift network to help banks and help onboard them onto Swift. So they want to support ISO 20022, and that's why they have made their business ISO 20022 compliant, and that means they can support not only Swift, but also XRP, also Hedera, also Stellar, whatever, all these other networks. But it's not an official adoption and partnership between Swift and XRP. That is not true at all. This also is much clearer, right? Ripple's CEO has come out, Brad Garlinghouse, has come out and said, XRP Ledger and Swift, the network, are competitors, right? And XRP Ledger is just looking at the dominance of Swift, how much cross-border payment it actually processes, and looking to take up that market share. They are not trying to partner, all right? And down here, right, this is the whole piece that's being done in April. Is Swift integrating XRP as a partnership? This is baseless rumors, right? They dug into all the sources, and basically there have been no sources. So this is not a good idea. If you're, saying Swift is going to use XRP alone, that's not the case, right? Swift wants to integrate DLTs, distributed ledger technologies, by connecting and supporting ISO 20022, but that's not XRP exclusive. That has many networks, and it doesn't mean they want to adopt XRP as the settlement asset. That's very different directions. Okay, pure rumor. So I really wanted to warn you guys, if you're looking at this, that's not the case. Maybe they'll announce something, maybe. XRP, Ripple is very powerful, so it could happen. But so far, nothing concrete has been announced by anyone. So that's all facts. Okay, and finally, let's look at the XRP escrow risk. So this is all coming from the XRP circulating versus fully diluted market cap. So currently, 59% of the XRP supply is in the market. Out of that 100 billion, 59 billion is trading. Every cycle, right, people FUD about this, and they say, oh, look, like Ripple's XRP escrow is nearing full release, right? They're going to dump all the coins. And here are some other of these titles. 630 million XRP on the move. Ripple involved in dumping this. Ripple releases $2.2 billion in XRP escrow to dump, right? If you are like from crypto Twitter, you would FUD this a lot. You would see this a lot. But if you have been involved in XRP for multiple years, multiple cycles, you would know this is actually regular. So I recommend you guys to just actually go back, way back into my previous video from 2 years ago, and just watch my deep dive right here, where I have already covered the tokenomics of XRP. TLDR here, every month, okay, every month Ripple unlocks 1 billion XRP that goes into one of their wallets. And they have publicly made the pledge that every month they will be relocking majority of that. Okay, so here, every month, 1 billion unlocks that they technically can use, but they have been relocking 800 million in 2024. So have they been keeping their promise? Okay, this right here shows all of it. So let me zoom in here. In 2024, throughout 2024, most months they have relocked 80% of the tokens that are unlocked. This was their plan, and they kept their word, except just for 1 month in November, where they did get more tokens. Okay, this is all facts. And then this year, since January, they have reduced that, right? They have kept more. They have kept 30% of the tokens that were unlocked, sold it, gave it away, do partnerships, whatever. And they relocked the 70%. This was their plan, and they did keep this promise, right? This is all tracked on chain. They have a very transparent wallet. It's just happening in one go instead of like a bunch of mixing. They're not trying to obfuscate this at all. In June, they did take 30 million more tokens, which is like, honestly, not a lot, like less than 10% of that whole batch. So small difference, but so far they have kept their word. And when you look at my last analysis, where is it? Oh my God, so many things here. So when you look at my video from 2 years ago in August 2023, based on the fact that they are relocking 80% of their tokens and they're releasing 200 million per month, if they kept that schedule, that would have been 4.8 billion XRP released every month. And by August 2025, the total supply should be 57.4 billion. Now, today, the circulating supply of XRP is 59.2 billion. So it is slightly more, 2% more, but not a huge difference, right? And that can be very transparently explained by this, which is the fact that this year they did keep more. So this year, yes, they had been selling more, but it's not something that they're trying to hide. They have been announcing this very publicly in their quarterly reports, right? Each quarter they announce one of these reports that you can go follow. And in here, they highlight how much is held in their escrow and how much is held by them and how much that has been released. So the only slightly worrying thing going forward is that Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, said that they will no longer be releasing the XRP market reports per quarter. So those are the quarterly XRP market reports we got in Q1, Q4 2024, Q3 2024, etc., where it shows, exactly how much is in the escrow. But nonetheless, like, it's all on chain. The wallets are being tracked by all the XRP explorers. So if anything outstanding comes out, it will be very simple, right? People can easily track how much they are relocking month by month on chain. So you can just Google Ripple escrow unlock and relock plus whichever month of the year, and you'll see it directly. There's like 100 different posts about it. So this is, gonna be a little bit weird, but they did explain the reason why is because the SEC really targets them. That they want to say XRP is sufficiently decentralized, so they don't want these reports to be directly coming from Ripple themselves. Understandable, I could believe that, right? They can't really hide these on-chain movements anyways. So whether they release the transparency reports or not, we can track it on chain. So I think it's in their best interest to actually release the written reports so that more people know about it instead of not. So this is a valid reason. I do buy this. Okay, so that's the second risk of escrow release. So let's take a step back to the beginning of the video when we looked at the CME's take for their bottom line on XRP. So currently there are 38 billion XRP tokens held in escrow. Even though they're pre-mined, right, these are going to be released very slowly over the next 10 to 13 years right here. So the supply will zero out from between 2035 to 2038. This is based on the XRP escrow system. And that's all true, right? That's all trackable on-chain. So yeah, that's all of the risks that are currently going on for XRP. At this stage, right, what's the bottom line? Regulation for XRP is fully turned around. There's no more lawsuit. The SEC is fully recognizing XRP as not a security. The XRP is getting futures ETF listings. The spot ETF listings will, like 95% chance, be approved within 3 months. Ripple potentially going IPO, right? That only brings more interest. Search interest for XRP is all-time high. The escrow risk, still the same, right? They're very transparent. Swift is still the big contender, but again, that you can see it both ways, right? Maybe XRP catches up to Swift. XRP is nowhere close to the level of liquidity that it provides in cross-border payment compared to Swift yet. So that could be actually higher upside if you think of it that way. So all in all, if you are to be bullish for XRP, I think this is the time. And especially, last point I'll give you guys, especially looking at the fact that XRP is starting to decouple against Bitcoin. This is very interesting. Back to the beginning of the video when we looked at the XRP BTC ratio. So let's say this is the start of the alt season. Okay. I have already talked about this in depth. 3 things need to happen, and 3 types of coins really need to run. Ethereum needs to run because institutions, the BlackRocks of the world, the tokenization, the Wall Street, they really like ETH. And we need to see ETH outpacing Bitcoin. And it is, right? ETH BTC, higher high, higher lows, really good. Solana is really the people's champion. The retail really like to trade on Sol. And Solana also needs to win against Bitcoin. And it's doing okay so far. Then we have the XRP. So XRP is really the dark horse here. Among Twitter audience, among crypto degens, most people don't really hold XRP as much. But among retail, among everyday investors who only trade on Coinbase, Robinhood, all they care about is XRP. So we need that crowd to come back. And they are coming back in a big way. As you can see in this chart of how XRP is outpacing Bitcoin over the past 2 weeks, just completely erasing all of that correction. And the fact that XRP's search term already higher than Bitcoin, like that's crazy. That's a crazy stat. Look at the past, all of history. Wow, this is actually like hasn't really happened much at all. Maybe I'll dig into this chart. Maybe in 2018 it happened. I don't know, but that's another potential metric we can use to look at to try to time a euphoria stage for XRP. If there's so much retail interest in XRP that it consistently overtakes that of Bitcoin's interest, that's probably a good time to take profit. Okay, I'll leave you guys with that. And yeah, don't be bearish. You know, if Bitcoin dominance continues to drop, if Bitcoin continues to go up, why would XRP go down, right? When XRP USD price looks like this, nearing a clear breakout, when XRP BTC completely erased all of this correction, there's no reason to be bearish. So if there's any takeaway I want to give you is to stay bullish on XRP. If you are one of those diehard fans, keep that high target in mind until we are at $10, and then like take a step back then and then say, okay, am I happy with $10? Let me exit here. Or if you're truly, moon boy or nothing, maybe hold till higher. But yeah, I think $10 is totally fair. follow my trading strategy, my trading bots to buy the dip and sell the pumps automatically, make sure to check out our trading bots on Poundx. You can find the tutorial link in the description, and I will update you guys on other trading bots I put on here as well, with custom ranges that I have set for our long-term entry and take profit. And make sure to follow me on X at VirtualBacon0x. This is where I can post day-to-day updates, not only for trading bots, but for all the other stuff that I don't have time to make into in-depth videos every single day. Okay, that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next video and next live stream.